On the 15th of January 2024, a 19-year-old named Kendra Williams turned on her phone, opened Instagram Live, and started recording. For the next 43 minutes, over 40 million people watched her beg for her life. They commented in real time. They sent fire emojis. Some even laughed. But not a single person picked up the phone and called 911. By the time the stream ended, Kendra was gone. And what the police discovered next turned this from a tragedy into something much darker. This is the story of what really happened that night, and the secret that changed everything. Kendra Williams was not famous. She worked at a coffee shop in Mesa, Arizona. She had around 800 followers on Instagram, mostly friends from high school and a few random strangers. She posted selfies, pictures of her cat, and sometimes late-night videos where she talked about feeling lonely. Nothing about her life suggested she would become the center of one of the most disturbing viral events in internet history. The man behind what happened was Marcus Webb. He was 27 years old, worked as a security guard at a local mall, and had been obsessed with Kendra for over 2 years. They had matched on a dating app once, exchanged maybe 10 messages, and never even met in person. But in Marcus's mind, they were destined to be together. He created fake accounts to follow her. He showed up at her coffee shop. He sent her long messages, declaring his love, messages she never answered. And on January 15th, he decided that if he could not have her, nobody would. That evening, Kendra was home alone. Her roommate was visiting family in Phoenix. Around 9:30 p.m., Marcus used a key he had secretly copied months earlier when he briefly worked as a maintenance contractor in her apartment building. He let himself in. Kendra was in her bedroom, scrolling on her phone. When she looked up and saw him standing in her doorway, she knew immediately who he was. She had seen his face in her DMs too many times. What happened next is where the story takes a turn nobody expected. Kendra did not call 911. She opened Instagram Live. She pointed the camera at Marcus and started speaking directly to her followers. People initially thought it was a prank, a skit, some kind of performance art. But within seconds, the terror in her voice became impossible to ignore. The comments started flooding in. At first, confusion. Is this real? What's happening? But as the minutes passed and Marcus grew more agitated, the tone shifted. People started encouraging her. Keep filming. Don't put the phone down. Show his face. Get evidence. Get evidence. That phrase appeared hundreds of times. Her followers, total strangers, were coaching her to prioritize content over survival. And Kendra listened. Marcus was shouting now, accusing her of ignoring him, of humiliating him, of making him feel invisible. She tried to calm him down, still holding the phone, still streaming. Viewers watched as she negotiated for her life while the view count skyrocketed. 10,000, 50,000, 200,000. The algorithm picked up the stream. It started trending. More and more people tuned in, not to help, but to watch. Then came the moment that investigators still cannot fully explain. Around the 3 1-minute mark, Marcus grabbed the phone from Kendra's hand. Instead of ending the stream, he turned the camera on himself. His face filled the screen. He looked directly into the lens and spoke to the 2.3 million people watching live. He asked them a question that made the entire chat go silent for a full 3 seconds. He asked, "Should I do it?" What happened next was a horror show that played out in real time. Hundreds of viewers typed one word: yes. 43 minutes after the stream began, the video cut to black. The last frame showed a dark ceiling, the phone having fallen to the floor. For 6 agonizing minutes, the stream continued in darkness. All you could hear were muffled sounds, footsteps, a door closing, and then complete silence. When police finally arrived, alerted not by viewers but by Kendra's roommate who saw a notification on her own phone, they found Kendra's body. The stream was still running. 41 million people had now viewed it, and the replay was already circulating across every major platform. But here is where the story shifts into something far more sinister. During the investigation, detectives made a discovery that changed the entire case. Marcus had not acted alone. In the days leading up to the attack, he had been active in a small, private online community. And in that community, he had shared his plan in detail. He had posted Kendra's address. He had described the layout of her apartment. He had even polled the group on what night he should do it. Dozens of people knew what was coming. Not one of them warned her. Not one of them contacted authorities. Instead, they encouraged him. They gave him tips on how to avoid detection. And on the night of January 15th, they were in his direct messages, guiding him in real time as he stood in her apartment. The police traced those accounts. They found people from 7 different countries, united by a shared hatred that had found a home in the darkest corners of the internet. Some were arrested, most were not. The laws simply haven't caught up to this kind of crime. Encouraging a murder from across the world through encrypted messages in a private server, it's a legal gray area that prosecutors are still trying to navigate. And what about the 40 million people who watched and did nothing? Psychologists call it the bystander effect, amplified by digital distance. When you're watching through a screen, the brain doesn't register the same urgency. It feels like a movie, like fiction, like something that can't possibly be real. But Kendra Williams was real. Her fear was real. And the final moments of her life became entertainment for the world. The question that lingers, the one that keeps investigators up at night, is simple. If one person had called 911 inches the first 2 minutes, could Kendra have been saved? The answer, according to the coroner, is yes. She had time. The window was there. But no one reached for their phone to make the call. They reached for the share button instead. If you want to know what happened to Marcus Webb after his arrest and the shocking court decision that sparked nationwide protests, let me know in the comments below. Hit that like button so more people see this story, and subscribe so you never miss what really goes on behind the headlines. Until next time, stay aware, because the next viral video might be real, and your one phone call could be the difference. Marcus Webb was arrested less than 2 hours after the stream ended. Police found him at his apartment, still wearing the same clothes, sitting in front of his computer. He didn't run. He didn't resist. He simply said, "I did what they wanted." Those 4 words sent a chill through every detective in the room, because in that moment, they realized this wasn't just about one man's obsession. This was about something much bigger, something they were only beginning to understand. The trial began 11 months later in Maricopa County Superior Court. The prosecution had an airtight case. The live stream itself was the primary evidence. 43 minutes of high-definition video showing Marcus Webb entering the apartment, confronting Kendra, and ultimately taking her life. The entire world had seen it. There was no question about what happened. The only question was, why? And who else was responsible? That's when the defense dropped a bombshell that nobody saw coming. Marcus Webb's attorney stood up in that courtroom and argued that his client was not a cold-blooded killer. He was a mentally ill man who had been manipulated, radicalized, and weaponized by an online community that treated human life like a video game. The defense brought in digital forensics experts who revealed the full extent of the manipulation. Marcus had been a member of this dark online forum for 3 years. During that time, he had been slowly conditioned. The members of that group had convinced him that Kendra was part of a conspiracy against him. They fabricated screenshots of her allegedly mocking him. They created fake profiles of her talking to other men. They fed his paranoia day after day, week after week, until his grip on reality completely shattered. And then came the most disturbing evidence of all. On the night of the murder, 13 members of that online group were in a private voice chat with Marcus. They were in his ear, literally speaking to him through an earpiece, guiding his every move. Recordings of that voice chat were played in court. The audio was so disturbing that family members of the victim had to leave the room. You could hear these anonymous voices telling Marcus to turn the camera around, to make sure he was streaming, to ask the audience what they wanted him to do next. They treated it like a director's cut of a horror film. And Marcus, completely broken, followed every command. The jury had to grapple with an impossible question. If a man is brainwashed by a digital mob, if his free will has been systematically dismantled by predators hiding behind anonymous usernames, how culpable is he? Is he a murderer, or is he a weapon wielded by others? The deliberation lasted 6 weeks, one of the longest in Arizona history for a case where the actual killing was not in dispute. When the verdict finally came, it sent shockwaves across the country. Marcus Webb was found guilty of second-degree murder, not first-degree. The jury acknowledged that he pulled the trigger, but they also acknowledged that he was not acting alone, that his mind was not fully his own. He was sentenced to 25 years to life. Some people celebrated. Others were outraged. Kendra's mother stood outside the courthouse with tears streaming down her face and said, "My daughter called for help for 43 minutes, and the whole world let her die. Now the man who did it might walk free one day." Where is the justice in that? But the story didn't end with the verdict. The FBI launched a massive investigation into the online forum that orchestrated this nightmare. They identified and arrested 4 of the 13 people who were in that voice chat. They were charged with conspiracy to commit murder, a legal strategy that had never been used in a case like this before. 2 of them were teenagers. One was a 6-year-old father of 3 from Ohio. The 4th was a university student in the United Kingdom. None of them had criminal records. None of them had ever met Kendra. They did it simply because they could, because the distance of the screen made it feel unreal, because somewhere along the way they had forgotten that the person on the other side of that camera was a living, breathing human being. As I record this, 3 of those 4 individuals have been convicted. The 4th is still fighting extradition. But here's what haunts me, and what should haunt you too. Those 13 voices represented just a fraction of the people who knew what was going to happen. Hundreds more in that forum read Marcus's posts, saw his plan, and said nothing. And millions watched it unfold live. The system didn't fail Kendra Williams. People did. Everyday people with phones in their hands and the power to make a single call. So I'm going to leave you with this. The next time you see something online that feels off, that feels wrong, that feels like it might be real, don't assume someone else will handle it. Don't scroll past. Don't share it for clout. Pick up your phone and make the call. Because the difference between a viral video and a human life is just 3 digits. 911. If this story stayed with you, let me know in the comments. I read every single one. And if you think more people need to hear about what happened to Kendra, hit that like button and subscribe. Stories like this don't make the mainstream news the way they should, but together, we can make sure they aren't forgotten. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, stay human, and I'll see you in the next one.